Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. And hey, I want to start today's video off right up top with a question. When was the last time that you had an argument or a disagreement with someone? We've been inside here with the same people for a while now. And when we're in that kind of situation, it's really easy to find ourselves in disagreements and in arguments. It's really easy to find ourselves butting heads with the people that we're with. Here's the thing. Is that in life, we're bound to be in arguments and in disagreements, whether we find ourselves in them or we're starting them. In so many of our disagreements, so many of the times when we're not getting along with someone comes down to us wanting to be right. It comes down to us wanting to be the best, us wanting to be the smartest, us wanting to win in that argument or in that disagreement. And I think it's because the opposite of that doesn't feel so good. It doesn't feel good to be wrong. It doesn't feel good to not be the best. It doesn't feel good to lose. And so we don't want to feel that. We want to feel on the opposite end of it. But I think life is meant for more than that. I think life is meant for more than just trying to win, than just trying to be the best. And today, as we're wrapping up our series, Worth Repeating, it's all about these different stories that Jesus told. We're actually going to be talking about a dinner party, about something that would happen around a table. And that's why I'm in my dining room at home today. And something important about that is that meals 2,000 years ago looked a lot differently than they look like now. In particular, where you sat was really, really, really important. The host of a meal, or maybe even the most important or the special person who was being celebrated at that meal, that was considered to be sitting in a place of honor. And the closer that you sat to that person, the more important you were. And so if you came in and you sat right next to the host, you were essentially telling everyone, hey, I am the most important person here. I'm the smartest. I'm the best. I am gonna win. And so Jesus knew that that's how things worked. And he also knew that it's going to be our tendency to want to be the best, to be the most important. And so Jesus used this story, this idea of a dinner party, to help us think about this idea of trying to be the best and trying to be the most important. And so we told this story and said, hey, if you get invited to a dinner party and you see the host sitting there and you think, okay, that's where I want to sit next to that person, actually don't sit there. Instead, sit in the least important seat that you can find. So why would Jesus say that? Well, he actually explained, he said, you know what? What happens if you go and sit next to the most important person there and you're telling everyone, I'm the most important, I'm the best, and someone comes up to you and says, oh, sweetie, I'm so sorry. There's actually someone more important here and they need to take your seat. Can you actually go sit somewhere else? Like, that would be so embarrassing, right? Especially 2,000 years ago. Talk about embarrassing. Jesus said, you know what? Don't worry about the most important seat. Instead, I want you to take the least important seat there. Because that way, you're not putting yourself first. You are putting others first. And I think that's what Jesus wanted to show us with this story. It was his way of saying, you know what? Even in these situations, when you want to be the best, when you want to be the most important, it is so important that instead you choose to be humble. Instead, you choose to put others first. Because when we put others first, we're showing them that they have value. We're showing them the way that God sees them, that they are important, that our relationship with that person is more important than being right. And that idea is so, so, so important. It's so hard, but it's so good. Because when we get into a disagreement or we get into an argument, and we might not be thinking this way, but in the back of our minds, we're just thinking, I want to win, I want to be right, I don't want to be wrong. It can be so hard to break out of that. But when we choose to put others first, we continually choose to say, you know what, I care way more about this relationship than I care about being right. And even if you know you're right, even if you know you're the best at something, even if you know you're the smartest, please hear me when I say you don't have to prove it. You don't have to say so. You don't have to prove that you're right. You prove that you're the best. Instead, you can show the other person how much you value them. You can choose that different path. You can put them first. And hey, before we wrap up, I want to make sure I say that, you know what, putting others first doesn't mean that we completely ignore our needs. You know, it's not that we are always going to put ourselves first. You know, of course, putting others first means we can't put ourselves first, but it doesn't mean that we deny our needs. It doesn't mean that we ignore our emotional or our physical needs. We have to be making sure we're taking care of ourselves, because we need to be able to take care of ourselves, to then out of that be able to serve other people. And so to close out today, I want to give you a challenge. And it's really simple, just based out of today. And that's put this into practice. You know, this week, practice putting someone else first. Practice putting someone else before you. And you know, that can be really hard, but you might find yourself in a place where you realize that you want to be the best. You want to be right. You don't want to be wrong. Or maybe it's you're in an argument. You're in a disagreement with someone. And it takes stopping and saying, you know what? I care more about us than I care about being right. When you have that happen, think about how it makes you feel afterwards. You know, don't just say that you're going to do it, but strive for it and then process it afterward. You know, putting others first matters so much. It's what Jesus did constantly. It's what he did all the way up to the cross by putting us first. And so when we choose to live like Jesus, to follow him and try to learn as much as we can from him and follow that pattern, it matters so much that we put others first. Because again, when we do that, it helps people see the way that God sees them. It helps people see the value that they have. That our relationships are more important than being right. That us is more important from me. That saying it's not about me matters so much. And hey, this idea is hard. Like all of these stories that Jesus told, putting them into real life practice is really hard, and that's okay. And we're going to be talking about more of this in small groups later today. If you're watching this video on the day that it's released, we're going to be meeting in small groups at 1:30 today. If you need the link to join, let someone know. We would love to see you there.